It's not even 48 hours old, but already the push to sell or slaughter the carbon tax is looking like the start of a brutally long and vicious election campaign. Our National Affairs editor Paul Bongiorno joins us now. And Paul, if the polls are right, it could be lethal for the Gillard government.
Yes, it certainly could, Georgie. In fact, Julia Gillard's pinning all her hopes of a revival on her very generous compensation package for voters and the fact that the reality's nowhere near as Tony Abbott's been saying. But today the opposition leader was back at it, warning voters, just you wait and see.
Very intense, isn't it?
A fertiliser plant in Victoria, a very apt backdrop for Tony Abbott. His 12-month campaign against the carbon tax is producing a bumper crop.
And your power bill is going to go up by about $1.5 million a year, I understand.
In the latest Nielsen poll, support for a carbon price has slumped to an all-time low of 33%. 62% oppose it.
Tony Abbott's a pretty good scare campaigner.
So good, Labor now trails the coalition by 16 points.
The carbon tax is a bad tax based on a lie.
Julia Gillard relying on the lived experience for a turnaround.
Now Australians get their own chance to judge, not based on what the politicians are telling them, but based on their own lives.
She warns Tony Abbott's blood promise will claw back money from families and pensioners.
You'll take it away from them.
But we'll have tax cuts. Well, we won't need the compensation for a tax that isn't there.
Businesses split on both sides of the argument. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry says confidence is down for energy users. The tax should be put on hold, while 300 companies, mainly in renewable energy, welcome it. Among them, energy giants LG, GE, AGL and Fujitsu, all behind this full-page ad, joined by Westpac, the bank confident all businesses can prosper.
We don't believe that there is any reason to expect that they won't be able to continue to adapt to changes in the operating environment.
When banks come out in support of something like this, you can be sure they're going to make money out of it.
Enough to drive you to drink for Joe Hockey. Probably enough to drive Julia Gillard to drink. Ever since she announced a carbon price or a carbon tax, all the opinion polls have suggested the voters don't like it or her. And now that the tax is here, confusion's been added to the mix and the fear-mongering.
OK, thank you, Paul Bongiorno in Canberra. Now let's go to political editor Hugh Riminton in Darwin, where Julia Gillard is facing a crucial meeting. Hugh.
Well, that's right. Right now, the Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono is here at Royal Darwin Hospital as part of his visit. But it's not health that is going to dominate these talks. It is the political impasse in Australia on refugee policy. Flying into someone else's political crisis.
How are you?
I'm very well.
Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono is being drawn reluctantly into Australia's trench warfare on asylum seekers.
Of course, we will also be talking about the evil trade of people smuggling.
We do have a gift for the President, 4 C-130 Hercules aircraft worth $30 million to boost Indonesia's disaster response capacity. Help for the Indonesian Navy to stop refugee boats leaving is also up for discussion. But officially, we have no complaints with our neighbour.
We've got to get to treating the cause, and the cause can only be addressed by offshore processing.
But to find a path through here requires the opposition and the Greens to actually move a millimetre.
But the opposition position is now in stone on Malaysia.
It's a dud deal for Australia. It's a cruel deal for boat people.
Meanwhile, Julia Gillard is taking an each-way bet with her expert panel, led by former Defence Chief Angus Houston. Whatever it comes up with will not be binding, she says, just significant. Tony Abbott has his own private talks with President Yudhoyono tomorrow. If Indonesia has any strong views on the coalition policy of towing boats back, we're not likely to hear them. The official news conference tomorrow has been pared back to a mere statement from the President. He won't be taking questions. Indonesia will be taking our doctors and nurses. Today, a further programme announced with Royal Darwin Hospital sending our experts to Bali to mentor medics there. Now, all these meetings between President Yudhoyono and Australian leaders, be they Tony Abbott or Julia Gillard, are under diplomatic rules. They are private talks. We won't know what's going on in there. If there is to be any shift by Indonesia, anything they can do to stop the flow of boats towards our shores, the first clue will come when he makes his statement tomorrow.
Thank you, Hugh Riminton in Darwin.